What is Tuesday? I don't even know anymore.
Fourth.
June 4th, work session, all members present.
Okay, I do know that we have a litigation matter for executive session. Russell?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Involving, the EPA and the enforcement,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Sorry.
Eddie, you got Lou here for executive session also? Or open session?
For the enforcement action.
Oh, for the enforcement action? I just have one matter which I'd like to bring to the attention of the board. We apparently allow, Frank, and you could help me on this one. We allow building permits to be renewed every year. And they can go on item for item. And the one that came to my attention yesterday, or the other day, is that skeleton framework on Indian Head Road, okay? Now, that fellow, in the last, I got it from John yesterday, he renewed, the last one he renewed was 2010, expires in 2012. And that skeleton still sits there, and there's a trailer, which I think you told me yesterday, what John did, that the trailer is a construction trailer only when there's construction.
That's correct.
So I just got an email this morning saying that you've been sending a notice of property owner regarding the construction trailer. Okay, so I guess the point of this is it good policy to continue to renew a building permit?
Patrick, I was always under the impression the building permit was good for 18 months with one 6-month extension, and that was it as per town code.
That's
I'm
not what
your
I was-
lawyer,
that's not what
John
I was
is,
told.
But that's what I was under the impression.
According to John Bongino, it is renewed every year.
We had, I have to double check the town code, but my recollection was we had put in, amendment to the code years ago that only allowed one extension.
I thought so, yeah.
I just have to double check.
Well, I wrote it, this last permit was issued in 2011 and expired 2012. But in any event, John, I think we ought to come to some realization as to how many renewals a building permit can have.
Well, he was on the list of blighted sites, right?
Yes, he
He had
was.
some steel trouble in the beginning, he had to bring some new steel in. So does anybody know where he's at, other than just filing for the permit?
Let me just.
When I say, when you ask the question, do we know where he's at, this is, building has been constantly in contact over several years with this gentleman. He always has a reason, but this has been going on, I
For a long
think,
time.
more than 10 years in terms of what's been happening on the site. And, you know, the problems that you are talking, that he brings up, are typical problems that you encounter during construction, but they are problems that are solvable within months, not years. And I think what has happened is he's exhausted, as far as we know, every possible conceivable excuse as to
Excuse me, is
why.
this a pending enforcement action right now?
Well, no, John.
Okay, I just want to make
No.
sure. That's all.
No,
I just want to make sure that we're not discussing an ongoing case. I don't know the
Well,
He said that he has issued appearance tickets in the corporate name on June 25th. But the bigger issue for
So it is
me,
pending
Yeah,
enforcement.
there's district court matter pending, so
all right.
this really should be discussed in
all right, but,
executive session.
okay, so
Just-
we're not going to talk about that.
We could talk about the policy. but
That's
not
what I want to talk
specifics
about, the
In the
policy.
code, John, I'm pretty sure
I'll
it's
check right
18 and 6 months, and I always said it should be 2 years and 1 year, you know?
Okay, well, that's the point.
I'll check. right
How
now,
many
just-
renewals
Okay.
should
Not specific
a
cases,
building
yes.
permit be given? And we need to come, you got any ideas?
John's
Anybody?
getting the code right now.
But okay, but nonetheless, it's still the fact is, how many permits can be reissued? So we need to have a limit there. You would avoid this skeleton building there. What's your recommendation?
Well, recommendations, I think what Councilman McCarthy said is probably the starting point of what you would probably at least minimally want to consider. The variation would be, the only variation would be on complex sites like the Smith Haven Mall, which would go on, but we could probably require that those be phased so that we can close out certain areas. But I do believe that there should be a limit that, to the expiration on, you know, it is normal, I would think, for even a large project to be completed within a 2-year period of time. And we're talking about a large project being scope of, let's say, construction of a Home Depot or Lowe's or something of that particular nature. It's easy to finish those.
So if John Bongino was right, notwithstanding what Tommy said, if they get a permit and they renew it every year, are you saying it only should be renewed 3 times? 2 times plus the initial?
I would say, given, for smaller buildings, it should, it's very clear that smaller buildings should be, let's say, limited to 3 years. But if you're talking about, let's say, a tri-tech with a 400,000 square foot building and multiple elements, maybe allow that one another year added on to
Depends
the
on the
process.
size of the project.
Well, the example I use, side, Pat, is a good one. I
Yeah.
mean, without discussing that.
That
I
thing
mean,
is there.
that's been renewed over and
Over and
over and
over and
over and
over.
over, and it's a horror.
Yeah,
It's a
whether it's
mess.
1.5 years or 1 year, it's been renewed.
I would think personally, and I'm not a structural engineer, at this point, the steel's been rained on and rusted so much, I don't even know if the steel's even viable any longer on that particular project.
Well, John, am I allowed to say this?
I don't know.
John did say he was sending out somebody to do an inspection,
Yeah.
whether it qualifies under the unsafe or, what's the other
It's
word?
property maintenance.
Structurally damaged building.
Well, if
So
it's
we'll
not-
wait for that.
Yeah, if it's not in the code, as Tom said, if it's in there, fine, then we should enforce it. If it's not, maybe you could send a recommendation over, just do a draft up, send it to us so we can look.
That's
I'll
the
work
way to
with
do it.
John Bongino on it.
Yeah.
Because I
yeah.
agree with the supervisor, there should be some kind of time limit.
Okay.
Did you find anything, John?
You get a copy of the provision in the code, but there's a time limit.
I thought so.
So then we should just enforce that time limit.
I think the time limit currently is in the code is too short, though, personally. Because if you get into a bad economic situation, it
Yeah, we
puts
can,
people.
we can
So you're
amend it.
thinking 2
We should
years,
take a look
1
at
year?
it.
I'm thinking 2 and 1 would be fair to people, unless it's a major like the Smith Haven Mall or
Yeah.
Tri-Tech or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
this is a small project, so.
yeah, but it's a horror.
It is.
It is.
a horror.
Way too
And,
long.
and I know, probably shouldn't say it, the trailer is a horror.
Yeah,
It's
but
an excellent
I think we can, well, if Frank is
Yeah, we
right,
better not.
if it's not being used in construction, just sitting there, maybe we can do something. John Valentine is hearing
A
this.
new
so
permit,
he could
they,
take
which
it.
I was just gonna say, he can also, right now, they can get a new permit. As soon as that other 18 and 6 expire, you can file for a brand new permit
That's-
for another 18 and 6. You can do that right
I think
now.
that's where the problem
I
lies.
have-
Well, we have to fix the problem.
If we're gonna do it, we probably should have John Bongino here too.
Well, not
Yeah,
today.
yeah. But I'll,
They're
We'll
gonna
have
get
a meeting
together and
with
make a
the three of
recommendation.
us.
section of the code in a second.
Yeah.
Work with John and Frank and
Take
send
care
a
of it.
recommendation over, we can look at it, and we'll change the code.
Okay, that's the only thing I have for today, other than the executive session.
No, that's me.
I'd like to raise an issue, Pat. I'd like to consider, or have the board consider the possibility of establishing a moratorium, like a 6-month moratorium on facade renovations for the fees that are involved in the facade renovations. I'd like to consider holding them in abeyance, not holding them in abeyance, but not paying them, just waiving the fee, making certain that the business gets the permit that's necessary, and the fees be eliminated for a 6-month period of time, in the hopes of spurring some kind of development.
You're talking in the downtown areas, Bob?
In the business districts, yes.
You know, so that's central business, right? That's central business?
And we've talked to, I talked to David in planning. I talked to John Bongino. There does not seem to be any opposition to it. It's money that we would not receive, but it's money that would be, in my view, generated in the future.
What is a facade fee anyway?
That's $600.
Well, answer is.
Based on size
it's-
or-
There is.
It's per square foot.
Yeah.
For building department fees, I think it's $250 initial, and then it's 15 cents for every square foot thereafter. And,
It doesn't sound like a lot of income
It
anyway.
generated in 2012, $46,000.
And then there's site plan exemption.
Yeah, well, the site plan exemption is relatively minor. The only thing I would mention, forgetting the fees, this is an issue that the plans still have to be reviewed by building, because we have had in the past issues with regard to facades falling down. That's why we came up with all these regulations. And so, if the board is of a mind to waive the fees, that doesn't mean that the review should be waived. They still should have to submit the proper application to the building department for
Well, maybe you
structural.
could make them somewhat minimal, less,
Yeah, it's something
some kind
to
of initial
consider,
fee.
and do it for a 6-month period of time and see if it has a positive
Okay.
effect, and,
But you need to collect some fee, just, whether it's $100 or something, just to process the thing, right?
well, I don't know, I think you could waive it, but,
Okay.
I mean, you guys could tell me better. Frank, you could.
I think what you're saying is you want a stimulus, basically.
That's
That's
all.
what
Yeah.
you're basically asking for, and that's a policy decision of the board. And it's not going to have a significant fiscal impact if that's what you want to do. For a long-term issue, which I think was what the supervisor is asking, is I think we do have to have, because it is going to involve labor and time and review. It should be a fee,
that-
and
but
whether
John-
that should be higher or lower would be a.
That sounds reasonable.
But I think the point of fees, by their very nature, when a town establishes fees, they're supposed to be reasonably related to the cost of review. So I think, Bob, you're talking like an amnesty program or something to stimulate for
Yeah.
a period of time.
Yeah, I wouldn't
And
use the
then-
word amnesty, but a moratorium, just,
All right, well,
just issue the permits, but don't collect.
We'll give you amnesty, Frank.
just
No,
essentially-
actually, moratorium is usually a prohibition.
Right.
What you basically are looking for is
A suspension.
Waiver.
a suspension
waiver.
or a waiver of fees for a period of 6 months.
Do you have any problem with it?
I'll buy
I
that.
wouldn't have a problem with it as long as it's gonna substantially fix a problem, you know what I mean?
But he's saying 6 months, and that's reasonable
say,
amount.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
we'll
reasonable-
see. We,
mean,
we won't
that's-
know until it's implemented.
That's a reasonable
and,
amount of time.
And what we would have to do then would be prepare a resolution for,
Yeah.
as I understand it, it's, the fees would be for the building facade renovation, and then the fees for planning would be site plan exemption fees, right?
That's correct.
See, but just let me add to that. 90% of the buildings on Main Street are owned by folks who don't live in town. Most of those buildings exact the highest per square foot,
Taxes.
not taxes,
Rent.
rent.
They also have the highest
And
taxes.
that's a good reason, but Bob's point, it could be well taken. If a few bucks is the difference of them fixing the facade and attracting somebody, that's fine,
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, it's a minute number compared to what the renovation actually
Yeah.
costs, so I don't know really what's it really gonna spur, but it's worth a shot, you know?
Just, if I might, if I was going back to building permits, they expire 1 year from the date of issuance. A permit may be renewed once upon the expiration. The renewal fee shall be half of the original fee. So you're really looking at one year plus another.
It's a year after year after year, as I
Or just one
understand it.
renewal.
No, but I
One
think what
renewal.
the issue has been is they come in and they apply for an entirely new permit.
Oh, I see.
And they start the process all over again. And I think what the board is really of a mind to, if I'm reading correctly, is that we should put a limit as to, you know, once you start construction, that there should be some sort of closure. That's what the board is looking for. And, you know, I will have some ideas I'd like to speak
Okay,
with the town
fair enough.
attorney
Give us
about.
a recommendation.
Well, again, I think the current code, I've always said it, is too short. 1 year to finish a complete job on a building, and then a half a year for half the amount, 6 months for half the amount, just isn't long enough. I always said it should be 2 and 2 years for the first permit and a 1-year extension, and give them 3. you
Well,
know?
We'll take a look at that.
Take a
And
look
then
at
at that point, if they want to go on, then the second renewal could be 1.5 times the first fee. The third renewal will be 3 times the first fee. So it's basically gonna say, hey, get the building done. Don't just leave it there, because the fees are just basically gonna continue to go up, you know, but give them a good period of time in the beginning to do it right the first time.
And by that, originally, that was a single entity that asked for the permit. They're now a corporation, because that's, I'm not allowed to say who or what because it's executive, so.
Well, it's just enforcement,
Okay.
so, but we got the concept.
Well, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the entire situation right now, and we'll come up with a recommendation. I do agree that we should probably have maybe a longer period of time for the building permit, especially for larger sites with, like the mall or something
Okay.
like that. And then we'll give a recommendation to the board probably within a couple
Yeah.
weeks. We'll try.
Frank,
Okay?
one question with that. How long does a site plan, once you get your site plan approved, how long is that before it expires, or it doesn't expire?
As long as they have a building permit that's active, it is active.
Okay.
And once the building permit expires, however, and you raise an interesting point, because one of the things we might consider is if a building permit expires, that means that site plan expires simultaneously. You cannot issue without
Give them a
going.
90-day window to renew,
Yeah, or
without having to
something like-
refile everything, you know?
Yeah, or some reasonable things, but it might be looking at the broader picture of the approvals that we have. Okay?
Okay. Anybody else?
I just had, go ahead. No, just a minor thing, since you're on building department. Just give this to everybody. John Bongino sent it over on the Hightower homes. That basically, a meeting on the site to go over with their current owners and contractors. They're working on 81 Main Street, the footing inspection, and the inspector notes that the concrete and debris has been removed from both property and locations, and they informed all work should be probably completed within 45 to 60 days on both. This is from John Bongino, so everybody knows what's going on.
I have seen heavy equipment up there.
Yeah.
I know they're working
Starting
on it.
some.
Yeah, but that's a long way to Tipperary from when we first started this.
This highway transfer, we're all squared away with that?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
on here,
yeah,
so that's,
yeah.
that's okay.
Good with it.
And are we going to read on this part-time appointment of an EAP coordinator today? It's not on the agenda. We have the resolution here, so we can read
Well,
it.
I must tell you, that's a personnel matter, is it?
I would think so, yeah.
It is?
Yes.
We'll discuss it in exec.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, then I'll move to go, you okay?
I'm good.
I'll move to go into executive session. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Ramon sounds like tequila.
You're on, Pat.
Sure.
I move to close the executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we need them to come up. To close the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.